sovereign powers belong to the people of Kenya. Today we'll be talking about the power of the people and representation of the people in accordance with Chapter 1 and Chapter 7 of the Kenyan Constitution. Hello, this is the Star Media with Mahmoud Ahmed, and thank you for joining us. Please remember to subscribe. Today's studio is Lawyer Frank, who will help us in our discussion. Thank you, Lawyer Frank, for making time for us today.
Thank you, Mahmoud.
Alright, Mr. Frank, Chapter 1, Article 1 of the Kenyan Constitution says all sovereign powers belong to the people of Kenya. What does that mean for the Kenyans?
All sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya. Before I get into your question as to what it means by all sovereign power, I think it's important for every Kenyan to understand some pieces of history which led to the promulgation or the convenement of this Constitution of Kenya 2010. And that piece of history is captured in a case that took place in 2017. If I'm not wrong, it is the Republic versus the Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission, expert in NASA. NASA is the National Super Alliance, in which the judge pronounced himself clearly and tackled that piece of history. He said that the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is as a result of the struggle that Kenyans have endured over the years, over the decades, that so to be a cure to the many historical deficiencies that the other old constitution was not able to cure. And the judge pointed out that the old constitution would not give the common mwananchi, who is now referred to as Wanjiku, his place. In other words, the powers of the common mwananchi in the old constitution would actually come to an end once that individual person has cast his vote on the ballot paper during a general election. And so once the common person, the common man, the mwananchi has casted his vote, his powers come to an end. Those powers are now left to those who are being elected as members of parliament to do things the way they want them to be. But to cure that, the new constitution now elevated the position of the common mwananchi, who is now Wanjiku, and for one reason or another, I don't know why, he's referred to as Wanjiku. Because to me, that sounds tribal. Because the question is, why not Wafula, why not Mwanyi, why not Otieno, why Wanjiku, why not Ahmed, for the whole Kenyans. But you see, the position of now Wanjiku was now elevated. He was now given absolute power to hold the leaders accountable, to run a democratic government, which was not there before. Now that is what we call the sovereign power that is now given to the people. And the people in this case is the common man, the mwananchi.
You and me.
You and me. And Mama Mboga. You understand? So when Article 1 starts by saying all sovereign power, it basically means all sovereign power, not some, all sovereign power. And we see now Wanjiku exercising this power when he enacts or votes to enact a new constitution, 2010, which was promulgated on the 27th August, the year 2010. He goes, or she goes and votes and gets this new constitution, which now makes him, this constitution makes the common man the origin of all the powers in this political sphere. So all sovereign power, sovereign is supreme authority, supreme power. So Article 1 is basically saying that all supreme authority belongs to Wanjiku, the people of Kenya, and shall be exercised in accordance only with the Constitution of Kenya. So all that needs to be done is that power which now belongs or rests with the common mwananchi, it has to be exercised in accordance to what that constitution does what it says. That is all about Article 1. Sub-Article 2 says that power can be exercised either directly, and we have seen that when Wanjiku now went to the ballot and voted in the new constitution, that was direct exercise of that power.
Actually, allow me to interrupt you.
Okay.
That leads to my second question.
Yes.
You have mentioned Article 2 says that the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through the elected members,
Yes.
Representatives,
Yes.
Rather.
Yes.
What do you mean by either directly or through elected representatives?
Now, directly is when mwananchi takes his personal initiative to enforce the rights which are accrued to him. For example, when the common man goes to the ballot, he is exercising his power directly to choose his leaders. And now that power is exercising. For example, we can now see people going to parliament to barricade along the corridors of parliament to force parliament to enact a certain legislation. That is direct exercise of that power. Indirectly is pretty obvious. That they go vote for their representatives in parliament, for example, member of parliament, senator, or governor, and they exercise those powers on behalf of the common man.
All right, Mr. Frank, that's fair enough. Mr. Frank, let's shift our attention to Chapter 7, which talks about representation of the people.
Yes.
Mr. Frank, Article 82 talks about continuous registration of citizens as voters.
Yes.
How often do we register, or do we wait until the period the election is approaching and we begin registration of voters?
The Constitution bestows the power to register citizens as voters on the Independent and Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which is a body which is entrusted with matters to do with elections. So, Article 82, Sub-Article 1C, actually gives the IEBC a function to continuously register citizens up to to be voters, those who have attained the required age. So now, for us who are not in the commission, we might not be able to know whether that is going on. You see, today I can come and tell you that I'm reading 1,000 cases in a day, but you are not there to ascertain whether I am actually reading those cases. So IEBC has been given a function to continuously register. And I think that same provision is included in the IEBC Act. I think Section 4 of the IEBC Act and also Section 5 of the Elections Act. That the continuous registration of voters is an exercise of the IEBC, and it needs to be done at all times. Now, what does it mean by at all times? It is continuous. Like, if today you turn 18, you're supposed to walk into the IEBC offices and they register you as a voter. But the question is, how often do they register people as voters? That's the problem. The statistics that we have, and these are pegged on the documents that they were submitting to the Court of Appeal in the BBI case. Those statistics show that the last time IEBC carried out an exercise to register voters was in 2019 December. So the statistics which are available show that IEBC registered voters on 31st of the year 2019. So the whole of 2020, we have not had that exercise. And we are almost halfway, actually halfway, the year 2021. So the question is IEBC doing its work? To me, I can say that Wafula Chebukati is actually eating Mugai. He is not living up to what is expected of him from by the Constitution of Kenya. We are not registering. There is no evidence to show that that continuous registration exercise of voters is actually going on. Yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frank, for that. That's fair enough. Mr. Frank, let's shift our attention to independent candidates.
Yes.
According to Article 85A and B,
Yes.
According to 85A and B, help us understand that.
Article 85A and B is to the effect that those who wish to vie for political positions as independent candidates are given a chance to actually present their candidature to the people so that they can also be elected, because they have been given, everybody has been given an opportunity to vie for and to go for an elective post. And in our country today, and basically in all democratic nations, people vie through political parties. But a time comes when a political party may not give you the ticket to vie, but you still hope, or rather feel like you can still go to the people and seek their vote. So you have that leeway. Article 85 opens the door for you to go and try as an independent candidate. Now the question is, what do you need to do? You who wish is to be an independent candidate. You must not be nominated by any political party, and at least not be in a political party for the period of 3 months. That's 90 days before the date of the elections. So, and also you must have complied with the provisions of Article 99 sub Article 1C, which requires you to the provisions that so for you to be an independent candidate, one, you must have not be in any political party. You must be an independent person. You are not affiliated to any political party, and you should, and that affiliation must be within a period of, outside the period of 3 months before that election takes place. That is what Article 85 precisely.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank, before we end our discussion today, your final thoughts in relation to our discussion today?
I want to say that sovereignty, which is the supreme power and authority, belongs to the people of Kenya. And that is a right that every Kenyan has been granted by the Constitution. A document to which they voted for. A document that gives them the freedom to choose their leaders, to do the things that they can do in a daily living. And so that article is very, very powerful, and it can be very, very, very helpful when it comes to the issues which affect the general population. For example, children. The children have a right. Women have rights. The youth, the elderly, everyone in society have got a right. So they have to consider that article and be empowered, and when an election comes, they need to know that it is their responsibility to pick, or rather to vote for, those people who are responsible enough. Because that power, when they are going to vote, they are going to donate that power to another party. And that is why we can now invoke, or rather consider Article 73, sub-Article 1, which talks about responsibility of leaders, that they ought to act in accordance, in a manner in which is in line with the provisions of the Constitution. So responsible people ought to be chosen for that specific office. So I would urge that the electorate, the citizens of this country, to be very, very careful on how they choose their leaders, and whom they choose, to what position they choose them. Yes.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Frank. The power belongs to the people. That's me, Mr. Frank, and you who is watching. You have heard it from Mr. Frank himself. And on that note, we come to the end of our discussion today. Thank you, Lawyer Frank, for making time for us here at the Star Media with Mahmoud. And until then, remember, mother is always right.